You're watching All to Play For, brought to you by Joe and Coral.
Welcome to the Euro 2020 All to Play For post-match podcast, brought to you by Joe and Coral, with me, Lynsey Hipgrave, and you, Joe Cole. We're literally jumping straight out of the pub and onto Zoom after every England game, so make sure you join us for all the post-match reaction and analysis, and of course Joe's dazzling insights as well. Now, Joe, before we get stuck into a brilliant start for England, a word on Christian Eriksen after those awful scenes that we saw yesterday when he collapsed during that Denmark-Finland game. Thankfully, though, all the news now seems to look a lot more positive.
It does, Linz. It's particularly a tough one for me, and because of my family. We lost my brother-in-law at 27 to cardiomyopathy, which is, it's a heart attack. And so for us, it stirred up a lot of emotions. And seeing it, thankfully, I wasn't watching the game live, and it was the first game my kids hadn't watched since might have been the second game of the tournament, but it was the first game I hadn't watched. I was getting it secondary from Twitter and things like that, and it was a tough one. And we're so happy that he's okay and he's on the mend. And there's so many positives to draw on from what happened, whether it was the captain Simon Kjær. How he dealt with it.
He was immense, wasn't he?
He was immense, and it ain't easy to do that, Linz. I've been on the pitch where thankfully nothing as serious as what happened to Christian, but when was injuries, big injuries where players are in a lot of pain, and it affects the players. The sort of credit to both sets of players and both sets of management staff and referee. And it's one of them situations where we all just have to sit back and realise that. We all think football's the be-all and end-all, but something like that will just, in life, just hit you in the face and make you all step back. And people stepped up again, human beings. The fans of both sets of fans were singing Christian Eriksen's name. You put away all, tribal feelings and, because there's a human being, a man, with children, young children lying on the floor. And, so there's will give you faith in humanity with what happens, and we're just so thankful that he's back up and he's on the mend, which is great.
Yeah, huge credit to the way everyone reacted to that, and great to see the statement from the Danish FA that he's stable and he's talking. He's still being treated in hospital. So we wish Christian Eriksen a speedy recovery. Let's get on to England then. Joe started off the tournament with a very respectable, impressive 1-0 win over Croatia in that opening game as well. So well done to everyone who backed that result at 19-4 with Coral. What did you think of the game and the performance?
It was excellent. The only thing that concerned me was we were so impressive in the first 20 minutes, and the energy levels were so high. When we didn't get first goal or one or two goals, I wondered, Linz, whether we could carry that on. But then they showed a maturity. Croatia come into the game. They dropped off into a block. They showed that they could defend in deep positions. Then actually the goal came from when Croatia were just in the ascendancy in the second half, and a little bit of quality. Phillips, who was outstanding throughout, probably the pick of players on the pitch amongst many stars, and he's played it to Raheem Sterling, and Raheem was one of them where there was question marks on whether he should start. Form for club, we can't really gauge because he wasn't picked. And he scored his first goal at a tournament for England, a lad from Brent. He grew up looking at Wembley. And it's just the story. There were so many stories going on around the game. So just an outstanding performance, and one where I think we can build from. And there's so many things pinging around in my head about, why did he pick that player? Why did he play this system? And then it all comes together. So Gareth will be really relieved and really happy with what his day's work today.
What was your initial reaction when you saw that team? Because I was a bit worried. I was thinking, I'm not sure I'm liking this team. Is he playing with two sitting midfielders? You've got Trippier at left back. I'm not sure if Sterling should start. I'm not sure if it should be Mings over White. But then all those sort of controversial selections all performed really well.
Yeah, they did, Liz. And unlike you, trepidation was what I was thinking, because Trippier hasn't played left back for over a year. He's been playing full back admirably for Atletico Madrid. Obviously, Tyrone Mings, centre-half, he's just off of the back of a good season for Villa, but this is a step up for him. So you're concerned with that. Phillips, I knew he had qualities. I thought he'd be coming in as cover for Declan. I didn't think he'd be considered for the first game. So he's come in. Now then, obviously, Raheem for Jack. The whole country's calling for Jack. So Gareth showed great, convictions in his belief in picking them players. So I'm like you and like the rest of the country. And probably one of the reasons me and you are doing a podcast and we're not managing England is we might have picked a different team. But he got the job done. He got it right. And in Gareth we trust.
Chilwell wasn't even in the squad, neither was Sancho, which is a bit of a surprise as well.
That's a huge surprise. With Sancho, though, as much as I love him, I think he might be a slow burner in an England shirt. I feel we don't see enough of him because he's playing over in the Bundesliga and playing very, very well. But he hasn't done enough. When you look at the players on the bench, who Gareth might be thinking could affect the game, probably I could understand it in that sense, him being left out, because he hasn't done enough when he's had an England shirt on. We all know his quality, and he will be a big, big player for England in the future, and he will have something to say in this tournament. But, I think Gareth probably looked at him, knew his starting lineup, then when he's considering his bench, he thought, right, if I need a goal, Jack Grealish is going to be my first call to come on and get on the ball and move it around and try and find a pass. And then he needed players like Calvin who can come on if something happened to Harry, or if we were getting crossed in the box. So I wasn't that concerned with Sancho not being on the bench. And I think there's every chance he might be on the bench against Scotland, which will have a different type of challenge.
And let's talk Sterling as well. He did start. He got his first goal at a major tournament as well. He went into the last World Cup in brilliant form and didn't have the best tournament. So maybe it's going to be the reverse this time. I just listened to his interview now, and he said that one of the questions that I asked him was, you haven't been in good form, you haven't scored as many goals this year, and he just batted it away. He said, look, the reasons I didn't score the goals this year, he said we can talk about them. It's not important now. I'm here with England, And he said, look, I'm a lad from Brent. I looked at Wembley growing up. I knew I'd score a goal. The confidence of the lad's unbelievable. Like, there's no knocking him. The fact that he ain't been playing regularly and didn't have a great game in the Champions League final to his usual standards. I mean, that won't worry him now. This is a completely different show. Some players perform differently or better in an England shirt than they do for their clubs. And Pickford, he trusts him. He always delivers.
Always delivers, Linz. And what he does, Pickford, I feel like it almost calms him down playing in an England shirt. I don't know what it is with him or something. His whole. I know he's been working with a sports psychologist recently, and a lot of that work when you work with them is your body language. Because you whatever you do on a football pitch, what I tell my lad or what I tell the kids that I've coached, your body language, however you're feeling, you've got to get a poker face on. If the game needs an air of calm, you've got to show that with your body language. Push your chest up, talking. And he seems so much more comfortable in an England shirt than he has done for Everton. Or maybe this is just his turn the corner. He's maturing because he's still young for a goalkeeper. And he's obviously a talented lad because he can't play as many times as he has for England and Everton and the Premier League goalkeeper without being talented. So I'm very happy with Jordan Pickford at the moment. He looks very, very comfortable.
And what about the two in front of him? What did you think of Stones and Mings as a partnership?
Again, Stones, I've been a big fan of for forever since I watched him make his debut at Everton. And I think this year he's been outstanding. I think the only blip for him was the Champions League final. I don't think he turned up on that particular occasion. He didn't have one of his best games, but today I thought he was outstanding. I think he revelled in his role of being the senior man, the senior centre-half. And again, like Pickford, he's maturing, he's getting better, super talented footballer, done the right things. And I thought he helped Tyrone Mings next to him. And I think Tyrone Mings, he can look a little bit ungainly at times, but again, he's got such physical attributes. He defended the box well. There was one occasion, I think, in the first half, Croatia had a little bit of play they got out and they turned it down the line for Rebic.
Yeah.
And Tyrone Mings just took off, dealt with the situation comfortably, no problem, and cleared it. And it's always a good sign when your centre half physically dominates the opposition centre forward. Croatia had nothing through the middle. They was just quiet. They threw about 3 forwards on at the end trying to make something. But Stones and Mings were outstanding. Yeah,
they're not the same team though, are they? That got to the World Cup final. What do you think of their chances now you've seen them?
I think they'll get out of the group. I think I've seen enough there. There's an asterisk on it, Lyns, because look, they've only won 2 of the last 9 games coming into the tournament. You know, people might have said the Croatians would have peaked getting to the World Cup final, but that's some outstanding, excellent players playing there. So you can't take the credit away from England. I don't see them going deep in the tournament. I think England were the better side today, and Croatia, I think it's the end of a golden era for them. But I can see them getting out of the group. I just can't see them affecting the later stages. And so as soon as they run into a Germany, France, Spain, Portugal, you know, even an Italy, I think they'll get beat comfortably.
And you already mentioned Kalvin Phillips. Just how good was the run and the assist for the goal from the Yorkshire Pirlo?
Do you know what? He was brilliant. But just quickly go back to, because I want to talk about Kyle Walker as well, because there's another moment. These games, when the country's eyes are watching them, you know, and then there was a moment when a cross coming from the right, it might have been Modric who delivered it, far post. Perisic got off the back of Kyle Walker. You know, the same thing that happened in the semi-final where Kyle lost him for a moment. And you talk about the development of a player and improving as a get older. Kyle Walker got his body shape right, put his hand on Perisic. He had a look. Perisic made another move. He adjusted, coming in the end. Him and Pickford dealt with it. Far post. He got his body in there. Pickford come and claimed it. And I thought I saw Pickford and Kyle Walker. There was a moment where I thought they were saying, like, well done. That 3 years ago. That's what cost us. You know. So you look at the two teams. For me, that was the two teams in a nutshell. We've improved. Croatia have come down. And we're going in the right direction. So I just wanted to mention that about Kyle Walker, because that was excellent. And then with Phillips was one I questioned, Lyns, because I thought, I like him. I really like him as a player. I wondered whether it might be a big jump, because I didn't know much of the lad's character. So, you know, but I trust Gareth. If he put him into the side, he knows he can deal with it.
He answered all those questions, didn't he?
Oh, he was, he was running forward. He was physical. I think the thought process would have been, if we got Mason, Declan and Phillips in the side against Kovacic, Brozovic and Modric, you can physically dominate that area of the pitch. And that was the area we lost semi-final in. Again, another point. Our players are younger, fresher, physical, better technically, and they're losing a bit of their spark. So that was a masterstroke by Gareth putting him in.
Yeah, so I had images of Marcelo Bielsa watching on his cool box with a big smile on his face after that performance. What about Harry Kane? Was that one of the concerns from today, the way he plays? He was a bit quiet.
No. He was quiet. Lyns. And, you know, we can look at that in one or two ways. You can look at England have dominated a team that was World Cup finalists, and arguably our most important influential player had a quiet day. You know, I was looking at it earlier, about 60 minutes, I was thinking to myself, let's get Harry off here. But then I put myself in Gareth's shoes and think, can you take your most influential player off at this juncture? Imagine Croatia nick a lucky goal, then the bit of criticism. But he took him off eventually, and I think it was right, because we had Rashford and Sterling on the pitch, who was going to stretch Croatia and running behind, which was working throughout the game. And Harry just weren't at it today. You know, sometimes that happens, even with the greats. But, you know, if a chance falls to him, it's a goal. So Gareth would always be wrestling with that. You always leave your goal scorers on the pitch until the game's done, because you never know where the ball's going to drop.
Anyone else really stand out for you today?
I think we've mentioned everyone, haven't we, here?
What did you think of Foden? You had that really good chance, didn't you? 5 minutes in, hit the post.
Yeah. Do you know what Foden done very, very well today? And Sterling, which people don't give him credit, and I thought he runs off the ball well. He's fast, Sterling. That was, we kept getting in behind their fullbacks, and it was Sterling or Foden running in behind, or it was Phillips or Mount running in behind. He kept running in behind. He's outstanding. He got in behind. He did a shift for the team, Foden, rather than being the person who unlocked the door. He done a great job for the team, and he'll get better and better as the tournament goes. I've got no problems with Phil Foden. But what I would say is, when a player like Phil is in the setup of Pep Guardiola, when it's constant possession and he's a technician, it really favours his ability. Sometimes today with Gareth, we didn't have it all our own way with the ball, like what Man City do. So he's had to adjust his game. So I think he'll come on stronger in the tournament as it goes on.
You're watching All to Play For, brought to you by Joe and Coral.
Tuesday. This is why you love international football. Thursday. The best ever goalless draw. Saturday. These guys might be underdogs, but you wouldn't miss this match. Every match day matters. So every time you collect 3 match day stamps, you get a £5 free bet. Match day rewards from Coral.
Kane not getting off the mark. Sterling did, though. He's 20-1 with Coral to win the Golden Boot. Do you think there's any chance of that?
I think there is. I think he'd be thinking to himself, there's goals in the Scotland game. He'd be thinking that. And in the Czech Republic game, you never know what can happen. Raheem Sterling can score goals. We've seen that. You know, he's not clinical like Harry Kane, but he constantly gets himself into positions. And when he goes on runs, he tends to score 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in a row. And you only need that, and you end up with a golden boot. So Raheem was good today. I was pleased for him because he's a lot of unnecessary criticism of him the last few months, I feel.
Yeah, he did really well. I think I know what you're going to say, but who was your man of the match?
It's got to be Phillips. I think honourable mentions will go to Raheem, to Trippier, to Stones and Mings, Declan Wright. It could be anyone, but I think Phillips was the outstanding candidate. I think not only the assist for the goal, just the general play. I think he didn't give the ball away. 18 passes, 18 completed in the first half, but he's breaking up a play. He's understanding of where to be on the pitch. And he might be just one of them fearless lions who just, this is he's going to emerge now as a top player. And that's what happens sometimes in these tournaments. It reminds me of a guest we had on a few weeks ago, Owen Hargreaves. I think he's got a similar style of play to Owen.
I think he's got a similar mentality to him.
Yes, I do. I think they're both very, very astute footballers, intelligent footballers before everything else. I think he's got that defensive instincts what Owen had. So I think that's a fair comparison.
Phillips a guaranteed starter for Scotland then?
He has to be, Linz, but what the beauty of what Gareth's got is he's got the ability to change players. He could play. I think Jack Grealish has a chance of starting against Scotland. I think he may, he could take out Phil Foden, blend him into the tournament. He could take out Mason and put Jack in, because you have to remember, you got to play 7 absolute, unbelievably tough games to win this tournament in a short period of time. And what we know from history is the team that starts the tournament is never the team that finishes the final. So I think he'll change 2 or 3 changes. I think Jack may come in. I think because we're going to need to unlock a door against Scotland, and we're going to have more ball. I think they'll drop off. And I think maybe Trippier might come out as well. Although he's done very, very well. I think by England having more ball, I think a natural left-sided player to deliver them. You have to break down a low block. You have to play fullbacks who've got that little bit where they can drop a shoulder and whip a cross in early because you need a bit of quality. So I think he'll go a little bit more attacking, maybe a Chilwell or Shaw on the left instead of Trippier. Maybe Jack will come into the team.
What about on the right? Because I know Kyle Walker was really good defensively today, but didn't have the best game going forward.
Yeah, and I felt that separate again. But I'm not unhappy with that, Liz, because with Kyle, for years and years, people questioned his position in defence. I think he's been I think he's been pitch perfect defending for the last 2 years. Over the last 2 years, have we said anything other than, has there been a glaring mistake by Kyle Walker? He's cut him out of his game where he's matured, he's got better, improving. I think he has to start. I think what will happen is, I think Gareth's got so many options. He could slip Kyle Walker into a 3-man defence and play Reece James. There's so many different things he can do, so many options. It really is a great position for an England manager to be in. I don't think we've ever had a tournament where so many people got so many different opinions because the quality of the players is so high.
Jude Bellingham as well became the youngest player to appear at a European Championships as well. A massive moment for him. Would you like to see him get a chance in the next game?
Yeah. I mean, listen, Jude, this tournament's almost a bonus for Jude. Every time I watch him play, he astounds me at the maturity. I'm talking to my lad about it, and he's saying that at school they said last World Cup he was in year 8, and then so my son's like, well, that means when I'm 16 I could play in the next tournament or something, he's really just put the stars in the eyes of all the kids. To make you feel old, Joe.
Yeah,
it does. Yeah, apparently his dad was a good footballer, Jude Bellingham. His dad was a non-league stalwart, and you can see he's from good stock. He's so mature. Credit to Birmingham for developing him the way they have, and he looks like, for someone to do what he's done today is an outstanding achievement.
Final question, Joe. England 11-2 with Coral to win the whole tournament. Is it coming home?
Of course it's coming home, Lindsay. You will never get anything other than that answer from me. Even if we'd have lost 4-0 today, it's still coming home. Until it's not, it's coming home.
I love it. That's what I like to hear. Joel, thank you very much. Thank you to everyone for listening to All to Play For. We're back on Wednesday as well. Back in the pub, the All to Play For arms. We've got Scotland legend Ali McCoy's joining us as well as we start to build up towards the big one, England against Scotland on Friday night. So hopefully you can join us on Wednesday for that. You've been listening to the All to Play For podcast brought to you by Joe and Coral.